Lucky Charms or Cinnamon Toast Crunch? Who's winning?
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. And today's Locked On Fantasy Basketball podcast is also brought to you by Indochino. Indochino, the world's most exciting made-to-measure menswear company. This week, my listeners can get any premium Indochino suit for just $369 at Indochino.com when entering Locked On at checkout. My name is Josh Lloyd, and I am the lead fantasy analyst at BasketballMonster.com. And you can find me on Twitter, as always, at redrock_bball. Another show, more tiers. Michael Bolton.
Let's get to it.
The tiers we're looking at today are the power forwards. So to talk about power forwards, to talk about positional tiers, Matt Smith is back again.
Smitty.
Smitty indeed. Matt, welcome back.
Hello, thank you.
Let's get straight into this. If you want to hear what positional tiers are about, go listen to the Point Guard Tiers podcast, which we did at the start of the week, and you'll hear the explanation behind that. You'll hear us also talk about some more explanations at the start of the small forward tiers pod from yesterday. Let's talk power forwards. Tier 1. This is the upper echelon, Matt.
It is. It's the cream of the crop, the top shelf of fantasy basketball. Anthony Davis, and who refuses to play center, so he's a power forward, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Is that how you say it?
It's close enough.
Anthony Davis, one of the most well-rounded fantasy games we've seen in a long while. But those trips to the locker room, we always get them tweeted out when you're watching games and Anthony Davis is trundling back to the locker room. You think, oh shit, what's he done now? And causing sleepless nights for owners. That's the only knock on him. And speaking of knocks, we know that the lack of threes and below par free throw percentage for Giannis is well documented. So that might take a little bit of planning and effort. But you can still get both of those categories back to a competitive and reasonable level.
I'm not worried that much. Look, I'm a little worried about the free throws, but I think that it can come back up. He was he was a decent free throw shooter a couple of years ago. It picked up at the end of last season to three-point shooting. He's also been okay at that before. He was just an abysmal about one of about the first 100 shots for this season. Of course, that's hyperbole, but he came back strong at the end of the year, like 32, 33%. No reason he can't be that again. The worry I have with Giannis is his knee, which has bothered him. It's caused him to miss 10 games last year. The Bucks theoretically are in a strong position again in the East. With all those Western Conference teams, they're not going to have that luxury of resting. Giannis and the Sixers guys probably will. He already was down to 32, 33 minutes a night last year. That could even come down an extra minute this season as Budenholzer really tries to keep him fresh, especially after he played in the World Cup. So that's a bit of a concern there with Giannis and the Davis concerns you highlighted perfectly. Playing alongside LeBron might just ding his usage a little bit. He still gets his rebounds, still gets his defensive numbers, of course. But there's always the risk there. Even though Davis has played 75 games in each of his two seasons that didn't involve trade demands prior to last season. So that I'm not that worried about it, but he's still going to miss some games. That's inevitable. We're not talking about Karl Anthony Towns here. So I think that they are absolutely fine in the top 5, Matt. People, we wrote an article about this over on Basketball Monster. Who would you take with the number 1 pick? And I think we both ended up settling on James Harden as that number 1 pick. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. Although you said you could change your mind within a week.
Yeah, I've said maybe it's Towns, but in reality, I don't think it matters. If you're picking a pick 1 and you pick Towns, or you pick Curry, or you pick Davis, or you pick Harden, or you pick Giannis, I don't think it really matters all that much. It's not the be all and end. It's not going to cost you your league. It's probably not going to win you your league, and that's why I want pick 5, because I just get whoever's left and then get the earliest second round pick out of that group. That's what I want to do, because I don't think it matters all that much.
Do you have Giannis then as that cleared number 5? Would you take all those 4 guys in front of him, and then would you be happy with Giannis at 5?
Yeah, I'd be very happy to get him at 5. He'll go at 1 in some leagues. He'll go at 3 in others. You'll get Curry fall to 5. You'll get Towns at 5 in a lot of situations as well. If I was doing it, I probably would have him fall to 5. It might be a debate between Curry and Giannis at 4 and 5, but the way that I've got them projected out, they're all really close in terms of their value. It's not that big of a difference in those spots, and you can go either direction. They're pretty comfortably. But these guys are the clear tier 1 power forwards that we look at. Let's swing it over to tier 2, Matt, and it's pretty lonely here in tier 2.
It is. It's John Collins by himself. Do you want to play your little sound drop?
John Collins. Do I have one?
Oh,
No, I don't.
don't you?
No.
I thought you had one for the Baptist.
No, maybe I need to. I'll take suggestions if anyone's got any good Baptist related sound drops. I'll take it. I don't have one. I need to work on that.
Ha you fool! You fell victim to one of the classic blunders.
I was just looking for an excuse to play that one because that's a new one. But yeah, Johnny Collins.
I thought you had one. Oh,
No.
well, that was awkward. The lack of steals and blocks last season, well, hopefully more a mirage than a trend. But he could easily be a 20-point, 10 rebound, steal, block, and 3 per game threat this season on great efficiency. He is going to be awesome and likely go, well, he should go sort of early third round, but he has fallen to the mid to late third round. But yeah, he could easily be a top 20 player this season.
His ADP on Fantrax is 45. I've got absolutely no idea why. This is a guy that he actually averaged 20 and 10 last season and played 30 minutes a game and had 1 steal in 3 months of basketball, which is not a number that's replicable. You can say that he's shit at steals. That's fine. Nobody is that shit at steals over the course of a season, and that will rebound. The blocks will come back up. His efficiency is there, and he's playing more than 30 minutes. I guarantee you that. Unless something bizarre happens and his foot falls off, he's playing more than 30 minutes a game. So to me, he is a comfortable third-round guy and probably a second-round guy. Efficient big men are worth so much, and he is an efficient big man, and he's going to get all the opportunity. Jabari Parker's not taking his minutes. He's going to play as much as he can. He's a 20 and 10 absolute guarantee, in my opinion, Johnny Collins. The old Baptist, and still working on that sound effect for him. Let's move on to Tier 3. Matt, in the power forwards, we've got 3 guys here, very different players. Let's go through them.
Yeah, completely different, in fact. Zion Williamson, the rookie from the New Orleans Pelicans, Kevin Love in Cleveland, and Danilo Gallinari. I've snuck him into Tier 3. If you want to talk about Gallinari or listen about the pros and cons, encourage you to listen once again to the Projections podcast with you and Kyle, and also Kyle's article over on Basketball Monster.
Now, Matt, this is
or describing, and
this is one where I've got a sound drop.
Hands off my cock!
There you go. That's Danilo Gallinari.
All right, I keep my hands in my pockets. You come up with the weirdest stuff, man.
That's not me. That's my son who is my 12-year-old son who's recommending that I drop this because it's from as a few people would recognize, it's a meme-based sound from Super Smash Brothers on the Nintendo Switch. But there you go. That's what it is. And obviously Danilo Gallinari is the rooster, and then the Italian cock, and then that's what he is now.
Hands off my cock!
So yeah, Gallinari.
Hang on, they're playing that sound drop in a kid's video game?
What it is, right? So if anyone wants to fast forward this 2 minutes as we talk Super Smash Brothers, do it. But what it is that characters have certain sounds that they, phrases they say when you do moves. And I think one of the ones that he has is like hands off my, say, friend or something like that, whatever it is. And you hit this combination and he says that. Because he's also a bird, it's Falco. He makes like a caw sound, like, caw, but it comes out sounding like cock, like caw, like that. But if you do the 2 moves on top of each other, it cuts off the hands off, mate, and then adds the car on the end. So someone found that was a good way. If you do these 2 moves quick together, it sounds like this.
Hands off my cock!
And there you go.
Yeah, there you go. Learn something new every day, Josh, don't you?
I heard it. He was playing it and he was doing this, and I go, what is going on with this game that you're playing? I go, what is this game? I go, is that actually saying what I think it is? He goes, oh, sort of. Okay.
Sounds like something from Grand Theft Auto.
All right, that's enough to lay into the inner workings of how I get my sound drops. I pay my son to be my director of meme research to find me good sound drops to put on the podcast, and this is what he comes up with. Anyway, let's talk about these guys.
Some parents pay their kid to wash their car. You pay your son to find sound drops for your podcast.
The director of meme research. That's his official title.
Very nice. I don't know where we were, but yeah, Kevin Love missed 105 games over the past 3 seasons. I can't spend a top 40 pick on him. I just think he's just that durability kills you so much.
It's a massive worry.
And I also hate big men who don't block shots. So yeah, won't be having Kevin Love on my team. Zion Williamson, there was a heap of hype around him in Summer League and potentially being a second-round pick and an early second-round pick at that. I think that's slowly started to die off. It'll be interesting to see if that picks up as we get back into pre-season and training camps. But one of those guys now who's probably falling to the end of the second round, maybe even the early third round.
He was available in the 50s in a mock that I did. I think it was him and the Rooster and Derek Favors are all available, and I think they're all potential top 40 guys, and they're all in the 50. So you can get these guys to fall.
Yeah. And
And then
I think that's about all I have to say.
Gallinari
But
with injuries too.
Per game value will be huge. But once again, durability, missed an average of 30 games per season over the last 5 seasons, a bit like I think I'm the same with TJ Warren. So if you do target him early in that top sort of 40 range, you're going to need some really durable options around him. I wouldn't be wanting Kawhi Leonard and Danilo Gallinari on the same team, for instance.
But you don't even have to go early with Gallinari. His ADP on ESPN 66, Yahoo 61, Fantrax 55. Look, this guy could actually be a top 25 per game producer. He was relatively healthy last season. Maybe he gets traded, maybe he doesn't, but I still think that he can provide at least top 40 value, and you don't even have to go into the top 50 to get him at this point. So I think there's real value in him this season. Even if Kevin Love falls into the 60s, I'd be happy grabbing him in that sort of area, which is a possibility. There are plenty of people who have the old never again mantra, but if Love plays 65 games, if he plays 70 games and he smashes that value, we don't know that he will, and it's probably unlikely that he does. But it is possible. So taking that risk in those mid-rounds is better than taking it in the second round or the third round. And Zion, again, he could fall or it could go way too high. Don't say to yourself, I have to have Zion. Because that means you're going to price yourself out and you're going to grab him in the second round, whereas he might fall to the 40s. Or if he goes in the 20s, you go, oh, bad luck, I missed him. I think having that mentality is I have to get this player is really a good way to lose.
Yeah, and plenty of other options as well. So there's no need to sort of go around early.
Let's go on to tier 4, Matt, and these power forwards. We have got 5 blokes in this group. Who have we got?
Blokes, you'd love that word. Draymond Green from the Golden State Warriors, Pascal Siakam in Toronto, Robert Covington, the Steals and 3 specialist, Lauri Markkanen in Chicago, and Kristaps Porzingis in Dallas. Pascal Siakam, I'm a little bit fearful of him this season. Probably get overdrafted. I just don't see him taking the big jump that a lot of people are expecting without Kawhi Leonard last season. And his splits with and without Kawhi last season didn't actually change a real lot.
They didn't,
and I think the defense is focusing on him. I'm just not sold, and I wouldn't be expecting another big leap of value from him. Draymond Green, once again, a nightly triple-double threat and superb defensive stats. Markkanen can pretty much do everything that Kevin Love does, and you can find him, potentially 20 spots lower, and you get durability from him.
He can't pass. That's the difference. Kevin Love can pass it. Markkanen can't at this point.
But are the difference between 1.5 assists and 3 or 4 assists from a power forward is nice, but it's neither make or break sort of stuff. Markkanen is also part of that third-year breakout crop. And Porzingis, we'll see how quickly he can get back up to speed and how many games Dallas might potentially rest him through the season. So a couple of key questions there, for Porzingis in particular.
So you got Markkanen and Siakam, who are both low defensive stats guys, and then you've got Covington, who's a steals specialist, Porzingis, who's a 2 blocks per game guy, and Green, who is a steals, blocks, and assist player. So really different type players who are all eligible at the same position and who all provide similar overall value. But again, overall value is a terrible way of going through your draft and drafting guys because it is really, really different. I have the same concerns of you that you do with Siakam, but he's not being as overdrafted as high as I thought. I thought people would be going into the top 25 to get him. That's not the case. I think it's reasonable to get him in the 40s, late 30s. The efficiency hit should be there, but I think it'll be offset by a usage increase. Can he get the defensive numbers back? I don't think so. Again, the real focus on offense, the Josh Richardson effect that we saw last season, so that sort of keeps him in this area. But I thought people have shown tremendous restraint in not overreaching. I thought he'd be a massive overdraft candidate, and he's a little bit there, but he's not really. He's probably at the right spot, which is good that people are taking it. Really looking at that critically, because it is important to be able to do that when you're drafting. At tier 5, Matt, we're down to just the 3 guys here. Again, quite different players. Who's in this group of players?
Very different skill sets here. Jaren Jackson from the Grizzlies, Jason Tatum with the Boston Celtics, and Blake Griffin in Detroit. Jaren Jackson, who will be a fantasy beast. It's just a matter of how long it takes him to get there. If you can find him outside the top 50 on draft day, go and get him. he'll be well over a steal, block, and 3 per game this season. Hopefully, an uptick in scoring as well. Jason Tatum, probably a month or two ago to have a breakout season. Now I'm not as convinced. Like we spoke about with Otto Porter, just one of those guys who's very even across the board, doesn't give you a big boost in one or two categories. He's had an ankle injury at the World Cup as well, which is something to consider. And maybe later on in the season they do look to get him some rest to freshen him up for playoffs.
Perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
Sorry,
drafting him as well. What was that?
It was my perfectly balanced for Tatum's skill set.
Perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
But given Dwight Howard's statements, maybe the Thanos drop should be for him. Given that he bought a purple car because he could understand Thanos's reasons for committing genocide. So yeah, shout out to you, Dwight, for sacrificing things to get his intended goal. That was Dwight's statement of why he supports Thanos and why he bought a purple car. That bloke just continues to not understand anything. Anyway, back to these ones. Griffin, the knee injury from the end of last season, does that worry you?
Yes, any knee injury or any lower leg injury from a big man worries me, and the same with Kristaps Porzingis as well. So, and like I said with Kevin Love, I just really don't like drafting big men who don't block shots. So yeah, I won't be having Blake on any of my teams unless it's a points league. Out
of these three guys, I think Jackson is easily the best breakout candidate here over Tatum. Like, if any of these guys are going to finish top 25, I'm pretty sure it'll be Jackson. I just don't see where Griffin, how does Griffin get better from where he was last year? And Tatum just feels like he's just always going to be stuck in this Rudy Gay territory of being mediocre or marginally above average in every area, whereas Jackson could really blow up. He could average 20 points, he could get 1.8 threes and 2.1 blocks. Like, he could do that. I don't say he will, but I think he's got that upside. I guess, do you want to take a 5th round pick on that upside value, or do you want to go for the stability of Tatum or Griffin? I don't think there's much downside risk in Jackson, but that's sort of how I view it. Is that how you look at these guys?
Exactly. And I think Jason Tatum's probably going to be one of these players who ends up being a better real-life player than a fantasy player.
Yeah, you could easily say that again. He just... Solid numbers. He needs to cut out the mid-range twos a little bit, but there's solid numbers across the board, but without a real standout area. He needs to be a 25 point per game guy to really boost himself into that top 20, top 25 fantasy discussion. I don't really ever see that for him, at least at this point in his career with the Celtics. Tier 6, we have got two guys who probably are better as centers, but they are going to be playing power forward this season, Julius Randle and Al Horford. People looked at the initial projections I had for Randle and said, you've got him way too low. And ESPN seems to agree with that. They've got him ranked 34th, which again is nonsense. The ADP is 48 on Fantrax. I've got him projected to average 24 and 9, but he gets no defensive numbers. He's not a great free throw shooter. He's a low volume 3-point guy. So this is why I've got him at this level. In a points league, Matt, he's 20 spots higher. He's probably 2 tiers high. But to me, his deficiencies in those areas is what keeps him down in this area.
That's correct. Yeah, 73% from the free throw line on about 8 attempts is a pretty significant hit. Once again, if you're looking for those out of position assists, 3 to 4 a game. But yeah, he'll be a strong double player. And Al Horford, just not quite feeling him this season. Klein, nice rotisserie player, but once again in head-to-head, just not going to provide you a big boost in any category to win you a category on his own.
Yeah, look, he's solid enough if you can get him in the 7th round. Maybe there is some value in Horford, providing across-the-board numbers, hit some threes, 1-1 type of guy, super efficient, big man, but just not really wowing you, and you're playing alongside Embiid. The rebounds probably dip a little bit, the usage probably goes down, the minutes maybe come down a little bit. They could go up, I'm not really sure, because the Sixers bench is atrocious. But yeah, it's hard to see him putting up the same level of production he's put up in Boston for the last couple of seasons. Tier 7 is where we're at now. Matt, this one's pretty packed. Who's in this group?
Larry Nance from the Cavaliers, Miles Bridges in Charlotte, Aaron Gordon with the Magic, Marvin Bagley with the Kings, and Domantas Sabonis with the Pacers. Larry Nance projected inside the top 70, but that's largely due to his high steal rate. We spoke about steals in the last podcast. So, if you need a big boost in steals, then Nance and for that instance, Bridges are two guys you can target here. But yeah, I wouldn't draft Larry Nance in this range. I'd rather get another 20, 30 spots of value to have him on my teams. Love what Miles Bridges can do this season. Had him in my sleeper article over on Basketball Monster. So I'll gladly be taking him in the sort of 80 to 100 range, I think. Marvin Bagley, his numbers aren't too dissimilar to Julius Randle's as well, but could be found a round or two later, and there is a chance for him to have a breakout season.
That's what I was going to say.
And Sabonis only provides a positive contribution in two categories, and they're rebounds and field goal percentage. So they're a big boost, but just make sure you're have got enough insulation in some of those other areas. We'll likely move into the starting role this season, but yeah, he's just not going to take another big jump in value like he did last season.
The problem is going into that start, and I talk about this all the time, it's the Will Barton effect. Maybe that's what I'm going to dub this, is that he played so well in the backup unit. High usage, high efficiency, which was a big jump up from his second year. Ball went through him, playmaking. You move into the starting lineup, you're not going to get that same usage necessarily. Miles Turner's going to need his shots. Oladipo's going to need them when he eventually comes back. TJ Warren, he's going to take shots. Brogdon, he's going to take shots. It's not like playing in that backup unit with TJ Leaf. Like, it's a different situation. So will his assists per game or per 36 drop? Probably. Will his usage drop? Probably. Will the efficiency stay the same playing more power forward than center? Maybe. So it's not just he played 25 minutes and now he's playing 30 minutes, and therefore he is 30 spots better, as ESPN ranks seem to think, as he's at 36, which again is crazy. Because you've got to factor all those other things in. How much will he have the ball? How do the shots distribute amongst these other players who are around him? His complete lack of defense is an issue. Will any of that ridiculously insane efficiency jump that he got last year, will that come back to earth a bit as he plays? Well, he's not going to look. I think he's going to play a lot of center on offense, and Turner can stretch out, but that doesn't mean that he's exclusively going to be there, because they can move those guys around. Whereas when he was playing that second unit center last season, that's who he was. He just sat there and he was the center. So I don't think he's going to have exactly that same ratio of playing center power forward as last year. So that's going to have an impact on him. So people were expecting him to be this big top 50 guy. I don't see it. Do you disagree with that at all?
No, I don't. And I was going to talk about this in the center tiers with Miles Turner, but how do you think Sabonis and Turner starting and playing together more will potentially maybe have an impact on Turner's stats in particular? Like, as you said, on offense, he's playing away from the basket more, potentially a little uptick in threes, but a decrease in field goal percentage. Yeah. And how's that going to impact his rebounds as well?
I think it's going to negatively impact his rebounds. I think it's going to negatively impact his field goal percentage. I don't think it's great for Turner. I think it's great just for the Pacers in general to have that combination. It's not a great combo. We'll see how it works. It didn't work all that well last year when they did it. They got a full season to do it. It's very reminiscent of the Nurkic-Jokic combination that Mike Malone tried to force down our throats a couple of years ago. But they don't have any other options here. That's the problem. Do they go with TJ Warren full-time at the 4 and then move Jeremy Lamb in next to Victor Oladipo? But then when Oladipo's out, how the hell are they going to manage that? There's some real issues with this Pacers roster, I think, of the way they're going to structure things. I think we could be in for some at least some growing pains early on in the year. Let's move on to Tier 8 now, Matt. We've got Dwighty Powell and Zachy Collins. Powell, I guess we could have had in the centre tier. He'll probably play some centre minutes, but he's a power forward eligible player. Well, Zach Collins is going to be, again, a centre who's going to be the starter at power forward. I'm pretty high on Zach Collins. He's one of the players me and Kyle debated earlier this week. Which side of the Zach Collins coin do you fall
on? I am on the positive side. I think he could be a really valuable player this season. The points, the rebounds, the blocks as well. We've got him at 48 and 76, which is pretty good, just enough. And yeah, there's just no one else there in Portland to play those power forward minutes and also the backup center minutes. So once the draft gets outside 100, and if Zach Collins is still there, he's definitely one I'll be looking for.
Well, he's going to be there. ADP of 139 on Yahoo, 140 on ESPN, 107 on Fantrax. So you can get him round 11, round 12 pretty comfortably. And I feel pretty good about that again, because who's getting those minutes? They're going to push Anthony Tolliver and Mario Hezonja into big minutes? I'd guess probably not. So I think Collins, they're going to invest in him. He's going to play backup center minutes as well, which helps his block and rebound. Now, it doesn't help that he plays power forward, because it does drop his overall block rate, field goal percentage, and rebound rate. But he will still get some backup center minutes, I believe, behind Hassan Whiteside. And I feel pretty good about him in those 10th round sort of a range. Powell was amazing at the end of last season. He's not going to have that same level of opportunity this year with Porzingis back. It's going to be Porzingis, Powell, and Maxi Kleber getting a lot of those front court minutes. It's not going to be just the entire Dwight Powell show as we saw at the end of last year, but he still really showed that he can be much like he's very Larry Nance-like in terms of his overall statistical profile. And if the minutes are there, he will produce. I'm just not quite sure it gets back to that post-All-Star run that he had last season. Tier 9. Matty, who's in this one?
Olynyk from the Heat, Davis Bertans with Washington, and also got Rudy Gay there as well. Once again, you and Gold debated Bertans' value. He was making nearly 2.4 threes per game for a stretch last season at 50% from behind the arc. So he'll be an important three-point shooter in Washington. I just don't know if he can do enough in other statistics to remain on standard league rosters for any length of time. Kelly Olynyk has a really nice fantasy game, but he's never averaged more than 24 minutes per game in a season. We've got him projected in the high 20s, which should be just enough to keep him around, the top 100-ish type of value. And Rudy Gay, he went off at the same value that he did last season. In this range, you're looking for someone with a bit more upside, i.e. Zach Collins.
Yeah, so out of these three guys, who do you think is the higher upside guy here?
Oh, jeez.
I think it's probably
Olynyk.
Yeah, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's just not, after what I don't think James Johnson will be playing heavy minutes.
No.
Who else have they got there?
At power forward, that's really it. Unless they're going to play Justice Winslow there, which I guess they could, to get him onto the court more. But Derek Jones Jr., he's not really a power forward. There's not much there for their power forwards.
Yeah, so I think out of the three, Olynyk, Bertans, like I said, basically three-point shooter, and Rudy Gay, nice and even across the board, but nothing too sexy there.
Let's look at tier 10 as we get down to the end of the power forwards. We've got PJ Tucker and Thad Young, two, as we've stressed ad nauseum in the last couple of podcasts, steals specialists that you can get late in the draft. Thad's role is going to be pretty reduced in Chicago as opposed to where he was last year, backing up Lauri Markkanen, but then also playing alongside Markkanen. I think they'll be the three big men there. They'll play some Otto Porter at the 4, but considering they've got no other threes, he's going to almost exclusively be there. I think it's hard to imagine Thad plays what he did in Indiana last season, but still can help you in steals, and literally all PJ Tucker does is get steals. He's like an absolutely piss-poor field goal percentage guy, but it's all about steals for both of these guys.
Yeah, and PJ Tucker can occasionally knock down a couple of threes as well.
Okay.
And grab some rebounds. So he's a good streaming option. And then, down into tier 11, the last one, rounding it out, Paul Millsap in Denver, Maxi Kleber for the Dallas Mavericks, and Rui Hachimura for the Washington Wizards. Not much to see there for Millsap. Kleber could be useful when Kristaps Porzingis misses games.
Great block streamer as well.
Threes if you're looking for that. And Hachimura, plenty of opportunity in the Wizards front court. Had a promising summer league campaign, averaging 19.7 rebounds and 1.7 blocks per game on 50% shooting from the field. And he's looked all right at the World Cup as well. I know he's going to be getting smashed in a few games. But, once again, late round 5 with your last pick.
Yeah, look, he's the guy. I don't think it was a good pick by the Wizards. I don't have great hope for Rui in terms of NBA career, but I think he's the pick you look at here with that opportunity. Defensive numbers, I'm not all that, looking at them going, he's going to put up big defensive numbers because he did it in Summer League. Remember, Mo Wagner blocked 1.7 shots and had 2 steals per game as a rookie in Summer League, and he is not a good defender and doesn't produce those defensive numbers. So that's not something that I'm really looking at with Rui, but the opportunity is there for him to at least be a points and rebounds guy, maybe like a very weak Julius Randle. I don't see it for him upside long term at all. Maxi Kleber, a good block streamer, and Paul Millsap, I think they're going to really drop his minutes down with Jeremy Grant there in Denver now, and that's going to severely limit Millsap's upside. Rui is the pick out of these three to me.
Definitely.
Matt, that'll wrap it up for our power forward tiers. Tell everyone, Twitter, Basketball Monster, what's going on?
At S-Man Sports for all your fantasy basketball needs and a little bit of, Australian Survivor chat as well. Basketball Monster, rounding out the tiers, statistical scarcity article, and we'll see what else is happening once training camps start up, and probably be another couple of articles in there before we kick off in just over a month's time.
Yeah, we've got about 5 weeks to go before NBA season kicks off. Go follow Matt on Twitter at SManSports. Follow me at RedRock_Bball. Subscribe to this podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and on YouTube. Give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, share it with your friends. Patreon is patreon.com/RedRock_Bball. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya. Thanks, man. Julius Randle.